Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Testing. Alrighty. We are live. So I'm going to guide us through a brief, very brief, guided meditation on non attachment. So before we start, what up, Cases? Before we start, I wanted to just kind of go over what I mean by non attachment without getting super esoteric or Buddhist or, into the mystery of any of it. What's up, Jimmy? How's it going? So basically, what I mean by non-attachment is uh, the ability to have an incredibly amazing or pleasurable experience and then not be upset when that experience ends or not fall into the mental habit of comparing that experience to your current state of mind or state of being. Hi, Isa. What's up, Isha? Uh, So this is very relevant and pertinent for us because, if we're trying to make the most out of our lives and have wonderful experiences as humans on this earth, then if we're doing that and if we're striving for that, we're very likely going to have lots of amazing experiences. And like everything, those experiences are eventually going to come to an end. And the way that we can deal with those experiences coming to an end without comparing them to less optimal experiences or less pleasant experiences will do a lot for our ability to enjoy our pleasant experiences without creating this clinging or attachment to making them last forever. And also without creating this comparison to not as optimal experiences. So this is something that I wanted to talk about as a subject for today's weekly guided meditation because, as some of you guys may know, I just got back from an incredible trip to Spain to Ibiza. I was flown out there to do some music stuff, and now I'm back to my normal routine here in Connecticut. Um, and it's kind of like a shock to the system, right? Because you have so much sensory overload. You have so much dopamine just flooding your brain because it was such an incredible week of novelty and new experiences and just like amazing. It was a buffet for my six senses for 7 days. And now I'm back to my normal life, which I love, but it can be very easy for the mind, and I've noticed this in my own mind, to then compare my current situation, my current state to that previous situation and start to feel like something's wrong or start to feel like um, I want to try to get back to that state. And if we're not wary of this, it can lead us always kind of chasing this dangling carrot in front of us that we never quite attain because as humans, it's built into us to adapt to whatever our situation is. So the more pleasure that we have, the more we adapt to that pleasure, and the more that reptilian part of our brain just wants more and more pleasure. Some psychologists have called this the hedonic treadmill, and it basically just means that the more luxury and pleasure you give your nervous system, the more you'll kind of be on this treadmill, needing more and more to feel satisfied. It's not actually dissimilar to an addiction. Obviously addictions can be a lot more serious, but it's this fundamentally the same mechanics that we're all susceptible to if we're not aware of what's going on. So what I'd like to do for the next 5 to 10 minutes is I'm going to keep this really short. I want to keep these pretty short for now, and then we'll see how they go. And if there's a demand and people want to go deeper, then we can do that. Is for whoever's watching, I want to just take you guys through a 5 to 10 minute exercise where we can see if we can try to parse out the value that we may ascribe to a peak experience, let's call it, within the body, within our actual physical structure, and see if we can get an experiential understanding of what it's like to enjoy a peak experience that's quote unquote out there in the world, here in the present moment without needing the sensory input of that experience. So basically, meaning we're going to try to practice today and see if we can recreate the physical, emotional feeling of how we felt in an incredible experience in the past, now in this moment, just sitting here, without necessarily having that incredible sensory input. So to begin with, I would just invite you guys to close your eyes and just take a moment to fully arrive here in the present moment. You can do this by deepening your breath, allowing your exhales to be a little bit longer than your inhales. An easy way to do this is for every 2 counts on an inhale, you can allow your exhale to last for 4 counts. This is calming down the body, calming down the autonomic nervous system, getting your body out of fight or flight and into a more susceptible, suggestible state. And as you continue to breathe and focus on your breath, see if you can follow and track your breath from inside your body. So, oftentimes, when we're meditating or doing breath work or trying to focus on something, we're focusing from up here in our head. We're focusing from this place that feels like it's maybe somewhere behind our eyes or somewhere in our forehead. And the invitation right now in this moment is to bring that locus of control, bring that sense of me that we so often default to feeling in our heads, down into the body, down through the throat, into the chest, and just settle it deep within the body as we breathe. Continuing to breathe, fully arriving here and making a commitment for the next 5 to 10 minutes to fully engage with this activity as a practice, as an experiment for yourself. And now I'm going to invite you guys to bring to mind a memory of a time when you felt on top of the world. It can be a recent experience, it can be something further back in your past, but just a time when you felt fully present and truly joyful within your body. Maybe this was some moment on vacation, some time that you were traveling. Maybe it was after having succeeded at something that you were working really hard towards. But just bringing to mind a memory of a time when you felt truly full of joy, present to the moment, and fulfilled. bringing back that memory into your mind, using the imagination to see how much you can strengthen that memory and reimagine it in this moment. And really engaging all five of your senses right now as you bring this memory back. So, coming into contact with what was occurring in your visual field, what you were seeing, what you were hearing, what it felt like, both physically and emotionally, who you were with. We're trying to make this memory as real as possible, similar to when you're in the movie theater and you're watching a movie and you get so lost in the film that you forget that you're just a person sitting in a big dark room watching pixels on a screen. So we want to get that immersed in this memory right now, whatever it may be. And now I would invite you to start to notice the emotional signature of how you're feeling in this moment while this peak experience is happening. And the invitation here is to focus as much as you can on the physical felt sense experience of that emotion. So maybe if you're feeling a lot of joy, what does that joy feel like in the body, independent of the experience itself? We're trying to get a sense of what it feels like to come into contact with pleasant emotions that we so often ascribe to things outside of us. What does it feel like to come into contact with these pleasant emotions within the body, with our eyes closed, just sitting down on a Monday, using the memory as a vehicle to bring us back into the physical state of those emotions? So if you're excited, maybe your heart is beating a little fast, maybe you have butterflies in your stomach. Are you smiling? Are you laughing? Are you in awe? Or maybe you're really calm and relaxed or relieved. Whatever it is, coming into contact with the physical experience of how good it felt in that moment, in that memory. And allowing yourself to fully immerse yourself in the felt sense experience of this pleasant memory. And seeing if you can slowly start to let go of the memory, if you can slowly start to let go of the contents of the memory in your mind, but still hold on to the physical experience of those pleasant emotions. It's almost as if the memory is the training wheels, but you're the one riding the bike. And so we don't actually need the memory. We don't actually need anything out there in order to come into contact with these pleasant emotions. They're all simply occurring within the body. because we're so used to, however, looking outside of ourselves for things that will make us feel good, it's like we've gotten used to riding a bike with the training wheels. But as we start to let go of the memory of the contents of the mind, of the associations to the outside world, and focus more and more on the physical experience of joy, bliss, peace, whatever the pleasant emotion is, the less and less we need for events in the outside world to be oriented in any certain way. The more our feeling, our physical experience of joy and bliss can be independent. And the more that we practice this technique of first bringing up the memory as a vehicle to bring our body into coherence with those positive emotions, and then slowly letting go of the memory as we focus more on the body, the more we can train ourselves to pull up these positive felt sense experiences on demand. So I would just invite you guys, even after we wrap up here, depending on if you have a few minutes after this, to just play around with this. Maybe choose some other memories and see if you can become more and more intimate with the felt sense experience of a positive emotion. Because ultimately, every emotion that we feel is energy moving in the body. And our mental label that associates that emotion to some experience outside of ourselves comes second. But it happens so fast that oftentimes we don't realize that it really is an additional step. So the more mindful we can become of the physical experience of feeling good in our body, the more we can start to practice that without needing to associate it to anything outside of ourselves. And the more we can stop chasing peak experiences to feel good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me for a few minutes today. I would invite you to come back into the room, come back into your body. You can wiggle your toes, slowly, gently open the eyes, let the world come rushing back in. And I would just invite you for the rest of the day to see if you can maintain contact with this inner being that's independent of the physical world outside of us. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks, Isha. Emotion. I've just seen this comment. Emotional and joyful. You're feeling emotional and joyful. Is that normal? Yeah. I am not in a position to tell anyone else what is not or what is normal or not normal for them. So, and I would offer that um, asking the question, "Is something normal?" Just my opinion, so take it or leave it. But I would say that asking the question, "Is something normal?" is not as useful for one's peace and joy as asking the question, is something charming or is something serving me? Because I don't even know what normal means. It's such a it's such an interesting word to me. I certainly don't think I'm normal, and I would never change that. So emotional and joyful both. I think if you're feeling both of those emotions, and it's bringing you into closer contact with yourself, then I would say um, that's very useful. So that's what I would say about that. But thank you guys so much. Love you lots. And I'm going to be doing these every Monday. So, and I'm also recording all of these. So I think once I've done a few more, I'm going to start creating a little vault and I'll choose the best ones. And there might be an online way to re listen to some of these if they're resonating with you guys. All right. Peace. Have a wonderful day.